Hello, my name is Pradyumna Pradhan, and in this particular uh, questionnaire discussion, I'm gonna talk about the impact of organizational culture on employees' job satisfaction and its effect on job performance and organizational productivity. Well, the research overview for this particular presentation is that the purpose of this study is to understand how culture influences job satisfaction and how this affects performance and productivity in an organization. Well, the questionnaires development for this particular assignment was developed based on the key theme identified within the literature review that were organizational culture, job satisfaction, employee performances, and organizational productivity as different variables, be it independent or dependent or mediating or moderating. And as I mentioned before, during the literature review, we frequently uh, identified dimensions such as teamwork, communication, leadership support, employee involvement, recognition, and workplace environment as determinants of job satisfaction and performance. Where the interview questions were segregated into different sections. Firstly, with the background information, followed by organizational culture, following job satisfaction and job performances, coming to organizational productivity, and finally closing questions. There was a mini interview where I interviewed three respondents from different uh, professional backgrounds, and they were interviewed using flexible semi-structured approach. The first respondent from sales department emphasized on importance of teamwork, leadership, accessibility, and employee recognition, which helps in fostering motivation and achieving sales target. The second respondent, who was from finance and admin department, highlighted that the value of transparent communication and employee participation in decision making process help in organizational productivity and continuous training opportunities as well. The third respondent, who was from HR department, focused on interdepartmental collaboration and supervisory supports. Through this interview, there were a couple of key responses and insights that I found out, which were supportive leadership, teamwork, communication, recognition, and employee involvement emerged as dominant themes. And these findings are consistent with the literature review that found a positive relationship between organizational culture, employee satisfaction, and performance through mechanisms such as employee engagement, communication, and commitment of an organization. Well, there were a couple of unexpected findings, which were flexible arrangements, onboarding practices, and informal team building were identified as influential factors, which I did not consider before. Before I conducted these interviews, or before I even started this research. Even as small as silos could influence hugely on their job performances as well. There were a couple of challenges that I faced, mainly with regards to scheduling difficulties, where I was not able to get the respondent time, and there were a couple of other uncertain circumstances as well. Uh, Firstly, the short responses were quite unhelpful and they were hesitant discussing sensitive information with regards to negative culture and maintaining neutrality. And these challenges are quite common, given employees might feel uncomfortable discussing organizational weaknesses and expressing their critical acclaim. There were few adaptation and improvisation that I had to improve with during this interview. Firstly, the respondents had difficult time understanding simple terms such as organizational culture, where I had to simplify the terminology, and I also recommended adding retentions and commitment questions, where I consequently had to change or rephrase questions using simpler terms without changing the main theme or the main core of the question. The most meaningful questions that I found out was meaningful to me and to this research was actually there were two. The first one being, how does organizational culture affect your job satisfaction? And this question generated a detailed explanation about the respondents' workplace relationship and different behaviors. They also were able to connect their emotional experiences through organizational culture and provided valuable insights for this particular research. The second question was, can you provide an example on how workplace culture has affected your performance? This also was the question that encouraged respondent on their personal level, and they also described situation giving their practical examples of their day-to-day workplace life, and these responses provided direct evidence supporting my research work. Well, the top three interview tips that I'd like to put on is are, firstly, we need to build a rapport within during the questionnaire period, alongside using probing questions in between our main questions, and participating in active listening and not just hearing. We need to understand what they are saying, from where they come from, and what do they actually mean. Well, learning and conclusion from this particular interview was that I found out positive culture drives satisfaction, satisfaction drives performance, and performance in turn contributes to the productivity of the organization. And these findings are aligned with my literature review. And these are the literature reviews, oh, as my references. Thank you very much.